welcome back to the Stick 'em Up podcast. Brundi, we are in the middle of the second round now. We've got I don't believe any of the series are even tied at this point. I believe it's either 3-1, 2-1. Actually, we do have a single tie, which we'll get into in a second here. Um, but it's been pretty good. It's been pretty good eating for these playoffs. Like I I feel like I don't remember the last time that consistently basically every matchup was this entertaining. Uh, we'll get to one that's a little bit less entertaining, but I mean, it's still good hockey nonetheless. But before we get to talking about the playoffs, I do believe we have some news around the league to get to.
Yeah. Again, not really much news going on outside of the playoffs right now. The only thing we know, and again, we don't even know, just rumors right now, but pretty much sounds all confirmed that Ken Holland will likely sign um, to be the next general manager of the LA Kings, which I don't know. I don't know how to feel about it, honestly. I don't know if I like that for the Kings or dislike it.
I'm seeing a decent mix of reactions. There's plenty of people being like, recycling this guy again. Like he's just been doing it for so long that kind of feels like you need a fresh take on things. But at the same time, it would be a fresh take on things for the Kings, and he's got the track record. Like I'm personally not a huge fan of it, but I'm seeing enough uh Edmonton fans saying that he genuinely did help out their team with a lot of stuff that maybe he's never been the GM of my team, so I assume Oilers fans would know better than me if he was making better moves, and I guess we'll have to see, especially once it officially comes out, because yeah, it's been rumored for a couple of days now. Hasn't been officially announced, but yeah,
Yeah, I
I
mean
mean,
that's all we can really do is just kind of wait on it, right? So
yeah, yeah. So we'll see where that goes, and I mean, we've talked about the Kings a decent bit in these playoffs. We'll see where they go because obviously 4 first round exits to the same team, something's gotta change. Like it's hard to blame them too much. Like you can't not blame them at all because 4 years to the same team is just brutal. But at the same time, you know, it is McDavid and Drysaitel and the boys, right? Like they're a cup contender, in recent years a cup favorite, like that entire time. So it's understandable that they would lose to the Oilers, but like yeah, you also got to do your best to try and get around that and make something happen. So we'll
mhm.
see if he can right that ship for him.
I mean, yeah, that's pretty much all they can do. Again, I think I'm kind of just indifferent on this move. Is there, was there maybe better options that the Kings could have gone with or different directions? Absolutely. But there is also worse options that they could have gone with. You know, uh, Rob Blake made a couple good moves for the Kings, but when I look at this, all I can say for sure is for the Kings is I don't think this is going to make them worse. I don't think Ken Holland is going to come in and do a worse job than what Rob Blake did. Maybe with the drafting, actually, Ken Holland has a really bad draft history as of late. So hopefully the Kings at least feel comfortable with some of their scouts and other guys they have in there to maybe make some of those calls. Um,
That's actually a great point because I did see quite a few Kings fans having that exact sentiment online. Apparently, one of the people that a lot of Kings fans really want to get this job is their head of scouting. Apparently, their scouting department has been very good over the past several years, and so much that a lot of people want the head scout to be taking over this job. So, if Ken Holland does come in, if he at least can listen to his scouts and not just like it's under advisement and then pick whoever he wants,
mhm.
like if he just does the GMing and he leaves the scouting to the professional scouters, then you know what, maybe it's a perfect fit.
Maybe it could work, yeah. And I think that's something that probably would need to happen. just because again, Ken Holland can make some good moves. He has made good moves. Again, like you mentioned, does have a great track record and winning record, but his drafting has been bad. And in today's league now, you to be successful, you need to be able to draft well, and that doesn't even mean well, obviously helps, in the first round and second round getting those top end players, but even trying to find some of those guys later in the draft that can turn out to be something. Look at a lot of the teams that have, you know, won cups or been contending. They have a few guys in that lineup that were, maybe a little bit later draft picks and turned out to be quite valuable for them. So something to keep an eye on with the Kings. But overall
Really,
with the signing, I can't say I dislike it.
yeah, yeah. I think it'll be fine. Honestly, I was not a huge fan of the idea when it first came up. Like I'm not exactly a huge Ken Holland guy, but like I've seen so many Oilers fans saying that he's really not as bad as people have made him out to be, and a couple other people who generally know what they're talking about. And like I never looked at him under a microscope, so I'm kind of going off of what other people are saying. But you're definitely right that to be a great team right about now, like you either need to just like hit on like franchise level players a couple times in the draft, or you need to consistently draft well. And like the
Mhm.
other day I was just looking at like I looked at just the last like 10 drafts or something, and I just scrolled through like the first one or two rounds, just like looking for names that jump out at me, right? And one thing that I noticed was, first of all, there was a shocking amount of players every single year in the top 10 that I was like, fucking who? Like so many top 10 draft picks end up not playing in the NHL. It's kind of crazy.
Mhm. Yeah,
Like,
there's a lot of guys that, look really dominant in juniors or whatever, and then they just can't make the transition, and that that's kind of it for them at that point.
yeah, and one team I really noticed was Dallas, the Dallas Stars. Like, obviously, they had that incredible 2017 draft where they got Heiskanen third, Ottinger 26th overall, and then in the second round they got Jason Robertson. Like, what an insane draft!
Yeah.
But like, I almost forgot that in 2021, 23rd overall they got Wyatt Johnston, 47th overall they got Logan Stankoven.
Mhm.
Like, those are two real good, like a late first round and a mid second rounder.
And
So,
with it's even more impressive with that draft because that's the year where not a lot of players even got to play, and if they did, it was under very limited ice time, and it was difficult for scouts to travel and be able to attend those games. So that draft is really important for me to look at. And, again, a team like Dallas, like you mentioned, Johnson, Stankoven, they didn't have a whole lot to go off of when scouting, and to be able to identify both of those guys and get them, and now seeing what they turned into again in continues to kind of show that they're one of, if not the best team when it comes to scouting and drafting. So, and you see Wyatt Johnston playing a big role for Dallas in the playoffs here. Look at Toronto. Matthew Nyes was a second round pick and has been, you could argue, their most noticeable player so far in the playoffs here for them. You need to be able to find those guys outside of the first round that can make an impact. And that's what can help maybe get you to that next level as a team.
yeah. Yeah, it definitely could. And uh just something that I'm just seeing here, but Wyatt Johnston, like 21 years old still. He's already played 246 NHL games. He's played 3 full 82 game seasons.
Yeah, and we've
Uh,
also mentioned how
Yeah.
impressive he is in game sevens as well for them.
Yeah.
Shows up
Like,
in big moments.
it's incredible. He's coming for Patty Marlowe's games played record.
He's off to a good start for it. But I don't think I have much else to say on this topic. Maybe we'll kind of come back to it next episode or next week once we can at least just say, all right, now it's official, because again, it's not official, but everything is pointing to this will be announced at some point.
Yeah, it does sound more solid than some of the other ones. You know, there's a lot of rumors over who's been interviewed for the Islanders vacant GM position, and we'll still have to kind of keep an eye on that because that one's very much up in the air. And
Yeah.
man, there's a lot of names being thrown around for that one.
Yeah, they're doing their due diligence. They're going through a lot of different candidates, and again, they don't really need to rush this process. They still got at least a month, so take your time with
True,
it. Make
but
sure you find
I
the
do
right
think you
guy.
want.
And
Yeah, they got the first overall pick now. Like I feel like they're gonna have to have a pretty busy offseason and July 1st. So, you know, they definitely
yeah,
don't
but
have to rush into it, but like by the time the Stanley Cup final comes around, you probably want to have that guy
and I
picked out
imagine
at that point.
they probably will. But it's one of those things
Yeah.
again where like we mentioned, outside this Ken Holland news, nothing else is going on in the league. So if you need to take a little bit longer with it to make sure you can get the right guys, opposed to rushing and grabbing someone so you have someone, uh, I definitely would always take the longer route and make sure you get, you know,
Yeah.
you bring someone in that is going to build this team back up. As again, it's more like a retool now because you get the first overall pick. That insanely helps you stay on that path of doing a retool as opposed to a full on rebuild. So they got to get the right guy in there for that. And I don't think there's a front runner. It's so many names just keep getting thrown out right now.
Yeah. And uh have you seen many names that you think sound good for them? Cuz so far, unfortunately, all the names that I've heard thrown around, I'm kind of like they probably don't want that guy.
The only one right now I'm like that could be an interesting one is, and I don't know the name, but it's Tampa Bay's assistant GM.
Oh, yes, I did. I did hear about that. I honestly had to Google him because I had also not heard his name before, and then I looked it up, and yeah, he's our assistant GM. I'll try and find that here, but yeah, I think that's kind of sounding like one of the better ones uh,
Mhm.
that I've heard rumored. Because obviously Mark Bergevin's name's been thrown around, and just man, if there's a guy, if the Islanders like that's their playoffs. They need to cheer against this guy getting that job because man, the exact opposite of what I was saying about Ken Holland, where it was like guys who fans of his past teams being like, no, he really isn't that bad. The narrative's kind of been over exaggerated. No, there's so many different fans of the last few teams he's coached being like, no, yeah, this guy like hired the wrong people, did bad stuff on his own, like set the team back years. Like he was not he
I
was
think
not good at
people are
his
being
job.
a bit dramatic with that. It's similar to, um, I see a lot of stuff from Sharks fans, and there's still Sharks fans to this day that talk badly about Doug Wilson and how he ruined the team and this and this. It's like, well, no, he built up a cup contender for so many years. He just tried to keep the window open as long as possible
Yeah.
when it was time to close it. So it's like you got to kind of like, I mean, at the end of the day, Mark Bergevin took the Canadians got to the Stanley Cup final.
Well, yeah, but what he was what, the GM?
Yeah,
Yeah, like he didn't put together a great team. He put together a what were they? A 16th? No, they weren't even supposed to be the put. They were like a 20th seed. They were like the 20th best team in the league.
but I mean, again, at the end of the day, it was still a team that went to the Cup final. I still think it was kind of a goofy year. I don't hold too much stock into it, but
It's one of
again,
those
is
things
he
where I
the best
would hold
coach?
stock
No,
in the players and I would hold stock in the coaches, but like looking at that team on paper, they should have lost every matchup. And so like when they do win, it's like it's hard for me to give credit to the GM of all people, you know?
well, I mean, look at the moves he made, though. He made the move to get Nick Suzuki, I'm pretty sure.
I got to imagine he would have been in
Drafted
for that.
Cole Caulfield, like was Again, it wasn't like he made the big flash moves. I think at the end of the day, for me, I think if Bergevin went to the Islanders, it would kind of be like this Ken Holland thing. Was there better options? Yes, but was there worse? Yes. So it's kind of in between. But from what I'm hearing with or reading at least for Bergevin, is they want to get him more into the president of hockey operations if possible. So it's kind of sounding like they're not going to commit to him as their GM, but if he wants to come to the organization, they've got another uh, position they can set him up in. So
Yeah, which I did see quite a few Canadians fans that were kind of split on what that meant for the Islanders, just because he had obviously been there, and like some of them were saying it would be a better fit because he made some not great moves as GM, but others were saying he hired a lot of guys who also were not good for their jobs, and so having him in charge of the Islanders hockey ops might not be a great call. But again, who knows, you know, how accurate some of that stuff. It's so hard to tell. Like, you know, all of a sudden a season will end and people will be like, "Oh, the defensive coordinator or the power play coach has to go," or like something like that. Like they, it's very hard to tell what goes on with these teams. Um, the other candidate that we were talking about earlier, Matthew Darsh, the assistant general manager and director of hockey ops for the Lightning right now. So
okay, yeah, that would be the name.
yeah, I assume Darsh, but
Yeah.
we'll see. We'll see what happens there.
The last thing I'll say, I guess, for Bergevin is, again, I'm still on the camp that I think there is worse options. The one thing that would be a switch up for the Islanders is you're going from a GM who notoriously doesn't make a lot of moves to a GM that is very active and is always, you know, always has his phone on him. You can say you look at Bergevin's track record with Montreal, he was always making a lot of moves, whether that's through signing or trade. So maybe that's what the Islanders need. Maybe they need a guy that's more
I do think that's better for him for
at
sure.
the helm of the ship, trying to actively keep making moves, as opposed to what Lou Lamoriello did, and kind of sit back and trust the process, even when maybe the process wasn't all that fancy.
Yeah. Well, it'll be interesting to see what they do. Just because I'm not familiar with too many of the other names. Do you have at least one person in mind when you say like because you keep mentioning like you think there are worse options? Has anyone been mentioned in this conversation that like you think is like the number one worst pick they could go with?
Peter Chiarelli.
That's fair. That's
I've
fair.
heard his name was, the Kings talked to him. I don't think the Islanders ever talked to him, but I kind of heard his name in the mix.
It's been going around.
But
Who was the last team that he
Oilers,
was run for? When
it was
was
the
that?
Oilers. Yeah. Oh, but well, before Ken Holland was even there. So
I was gonna say
I don't
I
even know
was
the
like
exact date he got the boot, but
I knew that he was like not looked back upon fondly, but I heard his name the other day and I just was racking my brain of like where the hell's this guy been? Like was the last time he worked with a team like it might have been like fucking like 2013 or something. Like it was a while ago.
hmm well, and the
But
other
yeah,
the
that
other
would
name that was out
pretty
there
rough.
that was one of the worst in my opinion was Jason Botterill, and I already made my thoughts very well known on Seattle's decision to bring him in as the GM. So Seattle kind of fell on the sword for these other teams,
Yeah. I,
unfortunately.
I'm seeing a lot of conflicting ideas on Jarmo Kekalainen as well, who has been rumored to be interviewed for this position. I Some people really do not like him as a GM. I I kind of liked a lot of the stuff he did do for Columbus. I do think it was about the right time when they moved on from him. It was kind of time to get a fresh face in there. They're kind of coming out of the rebuild stuff, but I really didn't mind a lot of the stuff he did.
I kind of have him in that same tier as like a Mark Bergevin.
Kind of you see what happens when it happens.
Yeah.
It's hard to gauge.
One of those ones that I wouldn't, yeah, just don't really know what to expect, type of thing, if it would go good or bad, and it really could go good or bad with it. So
Yep.
I'm curious to see what the Islanders do again.
They got a fun offseason ahead of them.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? It makes that job more desirable, so you've got more candidates that are willing to interview and willing to leave their current team to go to them, because there's so much potential, and again, going to be one of the most fun off seasons. So we'll keep tabs on that, and come back to that whenever we've got news. But we should dive into the playoff talk here. I guess all series. Well, after tonight, all series will have played at least 4 games. You mentioned one team or one series is tied up at 2. Couples are now up to 3-1, and one is still sitting at 2-1. Where would you like to dive into first here with these playoff matchups?
Let's start with the tied series, since there's only one, and that would be the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Florida Panthers. So they are now 2-2. They always say you're never in trouble until you lose at home, and neither of these teams have lost at home yet.
Yeah,
Like,
actually, that's a good point. Yeah, both teams are 2-0 at home. Toronto did get up to a 2-0 lead in this series, and Florida um, did bounce back to tie it up. Game 3 was the overtime winner by Marchand, and then game 4 was did they get shut out in that one in the end? I think they did.
I think it was
It
2-0.
was it was 2-0. Okay, yeah. I was pretty sure it was, yeah. Um I don't know.
Yeah,
I think Florida's got all the momentum right now, but Toronto has shown that they're good enough of a team to, you know, beat
I th-
Florida.
yeah, I think Toronto, I would say, has probably been the better team throughout the series. I think they've shown a little bit more, but there's a reason this one's 2-2 and the rest aren't. Like, this does feel like the closest matchup so far.
Mm.
And man, it really could go either way, and it could go in 6 or it could go in 7. Like, I truly have no idea which way this is going to go at this point. I was just seeing Oh, sorry. I was seeing earlier today that Anthony Stolarz was on ice for practice, so he is practicing again. Don't know how soon he'll be back, but it is good to see that he's at least practicing. And you know, if Toronto is to go on throughout the playoffs, it probably means that he's at least going to be back, at some point.
Yeah. Which is good for them. Stolarz has been fantastic so far in the playoffs. Joseph Woll, however, has not hurt Toronto. It's not like they're
No, he's
actively in a
been good.
position where you're kind of like, we need Stolarz back, otherwise we're done for. Like, that's definitely not the case.
Well,
Um,
especially in game 4 there. Like,
yeah,
the Florida Panthers can only put up 2 goals in a game. That's a game where you need to score 3 goals, and they didn't get any.
or at least 2, and then take your chances in an overtime. But yeah, I mean, if you get shut out, doesn't matter at the end of the day what the goalie did. If you're
Yeah.
not putting up any goals in regulation, you're you're not going to win a game.
You
The
can't
one
win with 0
thing,
goals.
yeah, the one thing I will say is, and Florida's so good at doing this, they're able to pull a team out of their system, right? You look at the way that Toronto played in games 1 and 2. I thought Florida kind of outplayed Toronto a bit more in game 2, but for the most part, a lot of it was controlled by Toronto. Florida got Toronto out of their system by the rough stuff, by the scrums after the whistle, by the big hits, by mixing it up, by the little pokes here. Got Toronto off the rhythm a bit, and you could kind of see that Toronto wasn't playing the way that they did in the first 2 games when they went down to Florida. And I think that's exactly what Florida wanted, is if just system versus system, if Toronto's got the edge this year, you got to find a way to pull them out of that, and that's what Florida did, and that's the biggest reason why I think um, they're up in this series. I think Toronto probably should have won Game 3. Definitely had a chance with it going to overtime, and that's the swing of the series right there. Toronto goes up 3-0. Again, never going to count Florida out right now, but that's probably pretty much it for Florida if you go down 3-0. And now just like that, it's the series is tied up 2-2. So I do got to give Florida a little bit of credit for that. Maybe not with some of kind of the less clean stuff, some of the cheap shots, but at the end of the day, their plan was get Toronto out of their system, out of their rhythm, and they were able to do that at the end of the day, and that's, in my opinion, the sole reason why this series is even tied up.
Yeah, and we have Game 5 tonight on the Tuesday here, and
No, we actually don't. We've only got one game today.
They didn't play yesterday though, right?
No, they didn't.
They got a weird 3-day break.
Yeah.
Or 2-day break, I guess, and then on the third day game. Weird.
Yeah.
I'm assuming at least
Winnipeg,
tomorrow.
Only Winnipeg, Dallas tonight. And then tomorrow, Florida, Toronto, and then Edmonton, Vegas. So a little bit of a break as well for Carolina and Washington too.
So what are they setting up there? A Wednesday game. So probably a Friday game 6.
Yeah.
Is that what they're looking for? Because if they had it on,
I don't think so. I think it's
if they had it today, it would have been Game 6 Thursday, and then they would have had a if it keeps going, they would have had a Toronto Maple Leafs Game 7 on Saturday.
Yeah, I think it's just one of those things where there's always just other stuff booked up. Like what was it? We saw how the Tampa and Florida series started so late because they weren't able to get it going in Tampa right away because of other, stuff going on within the arena. And I think that's kind of exactly what the case is here.
Weird.
I don't know the exact reasoning, but again, that's why I'm assuming there's probably a concert or something going on in Toronto. So,
but yeah, I'm very excited for Game 5. Obviously, it's going to be a huge game, whichever team goes up 3-2 in the series, and that one might get nasty. We saw in Game 4, I don't even remember who it was, but somebody elbowed Mitch Marner in the head, and I cannot believe it. It didn't get a call. It didn't get looked at by the league. Like, that was brutal. And then Max Domi, runs Barkov at the end of the game. That got nothing by the league. Like, dude, one of these guys
was a fine with that one, but that was
there was a fine? Okay.
Yeah.
Like,
but at the end of the day, players don't give a shit about a fine.
No, like these fines that get handed out, like percentage wise, like if you make it's like I've seen the math done before, and it's like basically equated to if you make the average, it was probably American numbers, honestly. If you make the average American salary, those fines for them is akin to like, I think it was like $70 or something like that. And it's like, I'd be annoyed if I was fined $70. I'm not, to commit an infraction in the playoffs that might give you a competitive edge. Oh yeah, every time for the equivalent of $70. Like, it's.
And here's the weird thing, because I started to think about this more after the fact. And I don't know if maybe it's because from what it looks like, Domi wasn't given like a misconduct or anything. But he was given a 5-minute major for boarding at the end of the game.
And this happened with like 3 seconds left, right? Like, it was like right at the end.
It was like right at the end of the game. It was a 2-0 game. Game was over, and an attempt to injure. But the weird thing is, I can't remember. I don't know if it was last year or the year before. I'm gonna say last year because why not? Makes it easier. Darnell Nurse got suspended 1 game for starting a fight in the final 5 minutes of a game.
Which
That was the sole reason, because
we used to see
there's a
that
rule
like
you
all the
can't fight
time.
in
That
the final 5 or
it
start a fight, initiate a fight, I should say.
yeah, like the instigator.
Yeah,
That
but you
used to be
can
called
run a guy.
constantly. We never see that called anymore. Like even if it is a fight, I feel like it's like only when the refs like have that eureka, like, oh, I remember this is a rule moment. Like it feels like that's just one of those things that
Well,
they
it's
just
not on the refs,
forget.
it's on the league.
Oh, it is? Okay.
It's on the league to suspend him, and it
Well,
is
I
only
guess that makes sense why it's inconsistent then.
and it's not like just if 2 guys fight, it's like, "Oh, you're spending." It's if one it's, again, if it's instigating. It's if one guy
Yeah, one guy
solely goes
pulling the
out of their
guy
way
to
to
the fight.
pick a fight and start a fight. But so, when you look at, all these guys that have been injured in the playoffs, they're all injured through dirty hits, through hits to the head, hits from behind, blindside hits. No one's getting injured from fighting. So why are we doing, oh, if you
Yeah.
start a fight in the final 5 minutes, 1 game suspension, but you can run a guy from behind headfirst into the boards with 3 seconds and nothing though, because it's not a rule that you get a
They need to
suspension.
rewrite this
It's
fucking rule
so
book, man.
weird the way that and again, like, I have no, no horse in this race. I'm just watching hard playoff hockey between these 2 teams. Whoever comes out on top, good on them. They deserve it. It's just weird that that's the rule. You can't fight or can't start a fight, but
I
throwing
I
nasty, dirty hits
genuinely
is
think
okay, kind of. Like, well, not
yeah,
okay, but you're not at the risk of a suspension or an
yeah.
automatic one, I guess.
I genuinely think it's just because the league has been so lazy, particularly Bettman, because he specifically has been asked about this, about changing the rule book. And every time somebody's like, hey, Bettman, why don't we update the rule book? He goes, oh, because it'll take too long.
Mhm.
Okay, I guess we'll never do it and we'll have these rules forever. Like, fucking at some, like, okay, cool. Yeah, it'll take a while. He says it'll take 5 years. No shot it takes that long to rewrite a book. No shot. Okay.
Yeah, no.
But,
And the worst
you
part is
know,
they keep
for
making
the
moves,
sake yeah,
though.
for the sake of argument, fine, it takes 5 years. Fuck, that'll be 2030 if you do it today. So do it today so we have it ready for then. Like, the league, I'm hoping, isn't going anywhere. We might as well get the ball rolling on that shit. I don't know why he always says it'll take a while, and that's a good excuse, but I genuinely just think it's because of old rules, because in the 9 if you wanna do, so obviously Max Domi, he knows what he's doing. He's trying to go out there and hurt Barkov because it helps the Leafs win the next game. Brad Marchand, he said this after he got sucker punched by Bennett last offseason. He had that quote where he said, "No, yeah, it's what you do in the playoffs. If you injure their best players, you have a better chance at winning. Everybody's trying to hurt the other team's guys," which
Mhm.
still an insane quote, but like he's so right. And
He wasn't afraid to speak up and say what every other player in the playoffs was thinking at that time.
all the fans are thinking it. Even if you're a nice guy, you at least know, like, if one of their guys goes out there and twists his ankle, I don't wish that on. I'm a nice guy. I'm Barkov. I don't wish that on him. It would help us though. Like,
Mhm.
that. You'd have to be stupid not to. And I genuinely just think it's old rules. In the 90s, when this stuff happened, how do you do it? Well, you're a hockey player in the 90s. Sorry? You're not a good enough skater to go do a lot of this stuff. You're not good enough at hand-eye coordination to go and hit a guy the way that they can hit him dirty now a lot of the time. That's why there was so much hooking, there was crazy slashes, you'll fucking and you would go and instigate the fight, and that's why the instigator rule exists with the fighting, because they could all box on their skates, so they would just go grab a guy, hold him there, and punch him within an inch of his life with 30 seconds on the clock. But nobody, I feel like they weren't near as good at skating 25, 30 plus years ago, so they couldn't you never really saw this. And then it's just never been updated. Now the game's so different. Like comparing the game to literally just 30 years ago, it's not unrecognizable, but like, what if you were to watch 5 randomly picked regular season games from this season and from 1995, 30 years ago, entirely different viewing experience, I bet. And not because
Mhm.
of the announcers and all that, like, it's just such a different game. They they got to start reffing these games like it's 2025,
Well, and
and
the thing is, the reason I hate
the league
Bettman's
is even worse than the refs on the ice, in my opinion.
yeah, and the reason, and again, I'm not a Gary Bettman glazer, but I do hate the people that say, "Oh, he never does anything anymore. He just sits back." I do think that the excuse of him saying it takes too long is bullshit, 100%. Because they make changes every offseason. There's always new rules coming. It's not a complete overhaul, and maybe not addressing the exact things that need to be addressed, but there is still changes being made. You look at recent years,
Yeah,
implemented where if you're on the ice and your helmet comes off at all, it's either you put your helmet back on or you're directly off the ice. No more, playing out there with your helmet off. They implemented the rule, and this was more for ref safety, where if there's going to be a line change, players can't just sit on the boards and hang over and get in the way of the refs. They implemented the rule where if you're chasing down a guy and you're whacking at him and your stick hits his hand at all, it's a penalty. So they are adding stuff and they're not afraid to. But and again, I think those are all fine rules. I'm okay with them. Not knocking any of them. But there's also just bigger issues within the game that why are you not addressing those? And again, he can say the excuse, "Oh, it takes long." That's just bullshit because they've had no problem making moves in the past. It strictly is they do not want to, and that's what it comes
yeah,
down to. Then because they've shown that they can, that they're capable of it, they're willing to. But if the things that they aren't addressing that need to be, it's simply they just don't want to.
yeah.
And why do they not want to? Fuck if I know. Fuck if any of us know. Because how would we know? But that's the bottom line for them is they just don't want to, and I think this is a prime example of why
It's
this needs to be changed. Again, if I'm, fucking who's William Nylander, a guy that does not fight. So, in the final 2 minutes, oh, I'm not going to go out there and start a fight. You can just go run a guy from behind instead, and you are less likely to get a suspension as opposed to fighting. Going out and being like, "Ah,
yeah.
there's the smallest guy on their team. I can hold my own against him. I'll fight him."
Yeah. Well, fuck.
Boom,
If I'm William
suspended.
Nylander, I'm not. Why? Fuck. If I'm playing in this series in particular, why the fuck even wait till the end of the game? Like, if I'm braining somebody in the final 2 minutes, that's probably my 4th or 5th hit of the night.
Yeah.
And I say hit more like a hitman, like I'm targeting a guy because whatever the fuck you do to a guy, has anyone been suspended at all in this series? Obviously, Ekblad
No.
missed game 1 because of his forearm smash on Hagel, but I don't think there's been a single suspension in this series yet.
No.
And that's bonkers, man. The amount of shit we've seen, they could easily be at 6 suspensions. And I
Mhm.
and I would that would be less shocking than the 0 we're at. Like
Mhm.
there's a lot of shit going on, and after the first 2 games, the Leafs have joined in on it, like we said with Domi and stuff. They've been throwing some stuff too, and like that's why I was saying like game 5 is going to be must watch because not only are these 2 teams skilled, the fucking refs will let you do whatever you want, and then all of a sudden, what was it, game either 2 or 3, where Domi, like, I don't even think it was actually a cross check. He the most like the most routine like push I've ever seen in a hockey game, and they called him 2 minutes for cross checking on Marchand,
Yeah.
and it was just like so like they're not calling some of this stuff. They're not getting suspended for any of it, but then there's like these random things that they call as well that fucking like I've been pretty vocal about it. Like I do not like this Panthers team. They are incredibly dirty and they have more dirty, not only the most dirty players, but more dirty players than a team that I've seen in a long time. Evan Rodriguez got fucking dumped into the boards. And I think I probably would have given it in the playoffs, 2 minutes for boarding on the Leafs. They gave him a freaking embellishment call.
And he went down the tunnel too, did he not?
What? Yeah, he did. He came
Like,
back.
he was hurt, and they're like, "Oh, embellishment." It's like,
He did come back. So like and you know what? I can almost see where the refs are coming from, because the amount of times that the Panthers, more than any other team I've seen in recent memory, they love doing the guy is gone down the tunnel. It's not great, and then he comes back. Like the amount of times
very
Matthew
good chance
Tkachuk alone goes down the
very good
tunnel
chance he
and
had
then
to
is
go
back for the power play.
Yeah, but in that case, it's like he probably the only reason he went down the tunnel was he had to go into concussion protocol.
Oh, no, I'm not saying that
Fucking
Evan
domed
Rodriguez was embellishing. I don't think he was at all. I'm saying I can understand for this specific team if that's why they were like, we don't
Yeah,
buy
but if
it.
you're the refs,
You got to call it on
where
you got to do it on a play-by-play basis, right? Like,
exactly. You can't be like, "Oh, this team's got a history of diving. Oh, that guy got run from behind and domed his head off the boards." Well, fuck, the team's been embellishing before. We got to call it now. It's like,
and they've never called
if
it
you want
before
to,
on them either.
if you
Like
want, if
this
you're
is
the ref and you
there's
want to
no way
like,
that was the line in the sand. That's
exactly.
bizarre. That's bizarre. Like,
Yeah, and this series has really highlighted some of the areas that the league probably should focus at, especially if again you're on the camp of, oh, player safety, we got to protect our players. This is the you could have a full 5-hour meeting and just flip through clips from this series, and you can be like, all right, look at this, look at this, look at this, and address what needs to be addressed if you actually do care about the safety of your players and keeping a more fair and honest game. Because again, if this goes 7, this is just going to keep building up. And you already mentioned there is going to be lots of fireworks in Game 5. We'll obviously have to wait till tomorrow to see how that takes place. Anything else in this series though that you wanted to touch on before we move on to the next one?
Not a whole lot. Like I did want to mention, but you kind of already mentioned him. Matthew Nyes has been phenomenal in this series. Like he's man, he's gonna get paid. I'm still seeing people like, I feel like we have mentioned numbers higher than almost anybody else has for his next contract. But despite the vast majority of people saying numbers smaller than us, I still think we're right. Because we keep talking about him getting 9.5. It would you be surprised at an 8x10? Like, I probably wouldn't.
I would be at that point.
Like,
I think, yeah. I'd be
like
surprised if he got up to 10.
But he does everything.
He does everything, but
He does everything, including doing all of that in the playoffs. Like, he's so good. Like, I keep seeing people say, like, do you think he gets 7.5 by 8? I'm like, holy fuck. If I'm a Leafs fan, I would be fucking naked in the streets cheering. Like, that would be crazy.
I
And the cap's going
it's
up?
going to be in between 8.5 to 9.5 because again, at the end of the day, yes, he has been really good in the playoffs, but this was only his second full season.
That is true.
If you want to go on the thing of you want to pay him and just lock him up, and then it might turn into a steal, sure. But if you're Toronto, you don't have that luxury. You're not coming out of a rebuild where you've got a whole bunch of money and you're locking up all your guys now. They've already got a lot of their guys locked up. You need to have money open for Marner and Tavares. You got to still keep some money open because you're going to have to re-sign Matthews down the line. Nylander, you're locked up within your fines. So Toronto's going to do everything they can to keep that as low as possible. And I think as low as it possibly goes is 8.5, but I'm thinking it's going to be that 9 to 9.5 range.
Yeah.
And I think that's a fine deal for both sides.
Yeah, I think it's fair. I think if he wanted, I think he could get more. He needs a bit more of a track record.
Exactly. He needs. So if that's the way he feels, then it's that, that bridge deal.
Exactly. And yeah, if he goes for a 2-3 year bridge deal, I mean, if he improves on what he's done and consistently does that throughout the next few seasons, like, well, now we're talking about an 11 and a half, 12 million guy in those 2 or 3 years, especially with the cap going up. Like third liners are going to start getting 4 or 5 mil fairly soon. Like it's the guys are getting paid, man. Um, I just looked it up because I'm curious, because we're talking about rule changes and all that, and they say how long it takes and all that, and I get it. There are processes you have to go through. The I don't know if you know this. I'll give you 3 guesses. What is the lowest valued franchise in the NHL, and how much
Utah,
are they worth? It is not Utah. Utah is in the bottom 5.
Winnipeg.
Winnipeg is second last, which
Oh,
is brutal
Carolina.
for President's winner. Hurricanes are sixth last, so you did
Yeah.
get all down there. Um, the Jets are valued at 1.05 billion. The lowest is the Columbus Blue Jackets at 1 billion even.
Oh, yeah, Blue Jackets. Yeah, that makes sense.
This was released last month, but the survey did take place in 2024. So, I mean, the Blue Jackets might have jumped up. Who knows? Uh, the worst off team in the league is valued last year at $1 billion. The top team, obviously, way above them. Toronto Maple Leafs, 3.8 billion. That's again billion with a B. That's a lot of fucking money. Uh, you guys can hire people to write a book. You guys can beat deadlines. Like, this isn't like building an arena where it's like, we can't do it faster just because you want or pay it, right? Like,
Mhm.
there are restraints to what we can physically do. With this one, like, ah, you could hire so many lawyers and so many refs, and they have so much resources. Like, the amount of things they could change, like, so quickly is crazy, and they just don't. I think it's just because, yeah, they wanna keep the game the same because, I mean, the head of we've said it before, but the head of the Department of Player Safety literally sells hats and T-shirts that say, "Violent gentlemen" and "Make hockey violent again." Like, that it still feels like that's not talked about enough just because that's such an insane thing. That's like that sounds more like it would happen in fucking Happy Gilmore than in real life. Like, um, but either way, this has been a very tight and very fun series to watch. The only other thing that I have to say on this series is, for those who haven't seen in the last day and a half, a one of the minority owners of the Florida Panthers, he got, man. Freaking a tale as old as the last 10-ish years. He is one of the minority owners, so not the biggest stock owner in the Florida Panthers org, but one of the lower end ones, but still a lot of power in the organization. And with all that power, all that money, he went online to a guy who had less than 100 followers, and he went off on this dude because he was a Leafs fan. And not only did he go off on him for being a Leafs fan, but he said a bunch of racist stuff. He was all over the place. Like, it did not come across as a guy who was thinking. He didn't come across as sober in it very much either. Um, but either way, he made some insanely out of pocket remarks, and the league has suspended him indefinitely. And I don't know what that means for an owner. Like, we've seen players suspended. Hell, even a few times we've seen coaches or GMs suspended. Not often, but it's happened. I have I What does an owner being suspended even mean? Can he not go to the arena? Does he lose some sort of privileges? I have no idea what the repercussions of this are, but uh rare league level, like that high level W for the league to take some action on this, because what he said was pretty freaking heinous. You can go look up the tweets. I ain't I ain't saying any of that shit on here. But
Yeah, I don't really engage with that kind of stuff online, so I don't really have um anything to add on that. And as far as owners getting suspended, I don't even know what the fuck that means.
Yeah, suspended indefinitely. So is suspending him indefinitely from any and all involvement with the team and the league.
Actually, the one thing I can say about it is, and again, it's not anyone specifically, but to the people on Twitter, because again, this is where it all originated.
Yeah,
Um, this isn't the players, and it is a lot of the Toronto fans on there that hide behind the fake accounts, and they're like, oh, Nylander lover 69 420 or something, and that's their handle. And they're trying to bash the players for this. This isn't the players. The players probably had no
you don't
fucking
need
clue this
new
shit was
ammo to
going
bash
on.
the
Like,
players
don't
on the Panthers. Like,
if you want to bash the Panthers players, there's numerous other ways. Don't take one guy's words and whatnot and be like, oh, this is the representation of what the players stand for. Like, leave that shit out. I know you want to just stir
yeah,
shit up, but like, fucking use your brain for like half a second. It's
I mean,
not that hard.
I mean, sure, but at the same time, like, man, they were before this came out. This came out after Game 4. They were already one of the most hated teams in recent memory. Like, the majority of the league is cheering for the Leafs in round 2. I don't know if there's any other matchup in the league that
And
would
if
have that
people
being the
are
case.
pissed at Florida, that's fine. But I'm saying you just
Oh,
can't
oh
take
no,
what the
you're
owner does
100%
and
right.
project that
Like,
onto the players, because that is
no,
just
yeah,
wrong. And you
like
look
he was saying
the
hateful,
people that do
racist
that, you just
shit,
look
and like,
so
no,
stupid.
yeah,
You just can't go down that road as any kind of fan, because you just look like a chump, and
no,
then you have no credibility.
yeah, they clearly don't like, you know, that they don't hire players that have this opinion of things or anything like that. But like, it is one of those cases of, man, people already had so many reasons to hate this team, and then one of the part owners came out and said something like this.
Mhm.
Like, it's just like the most timely L I've seen in a minute. Um, and man, some people like this guy's got probably definitely hundreds of millions, probably billions of dollars, and yet another guy with all that power, all the money in the world, and uh, baited by some random scrub on on Twitter, and the guy got the rise out of him. I guess like, oh, it's crazy how susceptible some people are to just going off online. Like, it's one of those things where it feels like nobody's safe. Everyone has their breaking point, and they'll go crazy before you gotta take their keys, take their phone. But
Speaking of um, babies online, crybabies online, social media admins, crybabies online. The Carolina Hurricanes are up 3-1 over the Washington Capitals in this series now. Of course, I'm referring to the toddler that runs Carolina's Twitter.
is it a
I,
different person from a couple years ago?
I actually don't know.
Because I
If it was, it's
remember with
pretty
them, they had
impressive how
somebody
they've
new.
stayed the same level of
Well,
just
because
cringe,
it was
basically.
like six. It was like 6 years ago. Like, it was like 2018, 19, or 2020. I remember they got somebody new for their social media, and their social media was so good for like 2 or 3 years. Like, it just felt like it was just constantly hilarious, nothing bad, and then all of a sudden it got dumb, like overnight. Like,
It is
yeah,
bad.
it must have been a new guy. Like, it really seemed like a switch. Like, all of a sudden it's different. So, well,
Mhm.
not too sure about that, but his team is doing pretty good.
They're up 3-1 over Washington. Washington really doesn't seem to have much of an answer for what Carolina's been bringing for the most part in this series. Again, a Carolina Hurricanes team that moved on from their leading scorer earlier in the season in Martin Necas. You got
Oh,
Rantanen, and then
geez,
you
yeah.
move on from
I thought you were
Rantanen
talking about
because
Ranton. I
he doesn't
forgot.
want to sign there. And Stankoven has been very good, but you look at this team and it's like, man, if they had a Necas and a Drury, or they had Rantanen,
I forgot
um,
they lost Natchez. Yeah.
what
Holy
a
crap.
what a wagon this team would be. They already are looking like one, but how much star power they had lost throughout the season. Um, it is really just incredible how dominant they have looked. Obviously, first round against New Jersey. No offense, New Jersey, but not very good. Um, and now Washington
An
team that
injured
has
squad.
been a wagon all season long. Um, kind of slowed down a bit, but then picked it right back up come playoff time. And Carolina's putting the boots to him right now.
Yeah, like, and this was the one matchup that I was referring to earlier when I said that one matchup was kind of less, as a neutral fan, less fun to watch. Um, it's just, you look at these other series. I mean, Edmonton, Vegas, Dallas, Winnipeg, Toronto, Florida. A lot of hard hitting, a lot of skill, just so good. And this one, like, it's got the skill, but it it's just not a very fast-paced game. Washington already plays a rather defensive game, and Carolina, that's their bread and butter. Like, they they take so many shots from the point, and they just throw everything on the net, trying to make it go in, and then they play good defense. They
And the
just
funny
score through
thing is,
volume of shots, and then they play really solid defense, and, like, it's a very effective way to win games, but, as a neutral fan, uh, you know, I would rather watch, the stars of these other teams play, cut up the ice, and
mhm.
make the incredible moves they have been.
Well, and the funny thing is because the last couple years we've seen Carolina and the Islanders in the playoffs, and um, again, I love most Carolina fans on Twitter. They're just very passionate and love their team, and at the end of the day, got to respect that when they keep it in line. Some out there, they know who they are, and they're very open that they go across the line. Um, but like, and it
That's
goes
that's
back
true of
to
every team, though,
Carolina's,
right?
yeah. Um,
There's shitters everywhere.
but Carolina does have quite a few. And it goes back to we talk about their social media and whatnot, and how, when they played the Islanders in the playoffs and whatnot, they love to just milk that cow of, oh, the Islanders are so boring, and it's so annoying playing them because it's just a snooze fest playing them. And it's like, you've become that now. You've become what you despised. You're a great team, you win, but you're boring. There's not a lot of excitement to your
Yeah,
games, and at the end of the day, now if you're Carolina, who gives a fuck? Who cares if people say you're boring? I said it before with the Islanders. Who cares if people say you're boring? If you're winning, if the results are there, who cares what other people say? That's all that matters. If you're enjoying watching your team win, you're the players and whatnot. If it's boring, you're enjoying winning. Who cares what people say? Because at the end of the day,
yeah,
you're up 3-1 over Washington. You're one win away from going back to the Eastern Final once again. Who cares if you're boring? You're winning.
yeah. Like, it's
That's what it comes down to.
it's one of those
The
things.
result.
Like, you can complain about it as a fan, and you can observe it, but, like, there obviously there's no reason for it to change. Like, if the team is winning the hockey games, you can't be like, "Hey, go out there and play worse defense so it's more fun to watch." Like,
Yeah.
that's just absurd. Like, uh it's just one of those things where it's like, yeah, yeah, I don't know. It's working for him. Hopefully somebody beats them to the point where they're like, "Shit, we have to we have to get faster and maybe have a better power play or something like that." But
Well, and
you
that's
know what?
what would be an
Fair
interesting
play. They're
thing
doing hockey.
with if we get a Florida Carolina matchup is, like we mentioned with Florida, they were able to get Toronto off the rhythm of their game plan. Would they be able to get Carolina out of the rhythm and game plan? And maybe, but right now, the way Carolina's playing, again, is it the prettiest? Actually, it is kind of pretty, the system that they're playing, maybe not fun, but it actually is pretty incredible to see the system that they've outlined and they stick to, and it works. You're up 3-1. Can Washington come back in this series and win? Absolutely. Is it damn near impossible? Pretty much. The way that Carolina's been looking. Um, but from top to bottom, it's a team that you can roll four lines, you can roll your defensive pairings. Freddie Anderson's healthy again and locked in. I mean, it's an uphill battle for Washington if you're Carolina. Again, just keep doing what you're doing, and it works.
Yeah.
Wins are the most important thing, not what fans of other teams think.
Yeah.
Just keep winning games.
But this is definitely the series I've watched the least, so I don't have a ton to say on it. I mean, up 3-1, I gotta imagine Carolina's moving on. Like, it would be an incredible comeback if Washington was able to win the next 3 and
It would
take
just
the
add to the
series.
storybook season.
Yeah, like, it would that would be crazy to see, but the way Washington's or, Carolina's playing rather, they're so defensively sound, and they're still able to find
Mhm.
a decent amount of goals per game, and they also get a good amount of scoring throughout their lineup. They are a relatively deep team. They don't have, they've got some good stars at the top, but as good as Sebastian Aho is, they don't have the William Nylanders, the Mitch Marners, the Austin Matthews. And
Yeah.
even if you think he's on Aho's on the level of any one of those guys, well, I named 3 from that team.
Yeah.
Like, they don't quite have that top level talent. So the fact that they're doing it without that because they've just got such a good system and also have such good depth scoring, it's really impressive. And it feels like they're kind of tailor made for the playoffs. The only thing they're missing is
Mhm.
a ton of physicality, which they've even got some of that. Like, they aren't a soft team.
Exactly. Yeah. Are they on the level of having the guys on the level like we mentioned with Florida? No, but they still got guys that can dish out the body and get it done in other ways. So, and sometimes that's really all you need. If you
Yeah,
got guys that can handle that business when it needs to be handled, that's really all you need. You don't need to have a like I keep seeing Toronto fans being like, "Oh, throw Ryan Reeves in the lineup." Why? Okay, he goes out there and fights once, and then he sits on the bench. Like it's one of those things where you need guys that can handle that business when need be, but also guys that can actually play in an entire game and be utilized in other areas of the game aside from just go out there and fight, go throw an elbow, go do this. Like they've got guys throughout the lineup that are capable of doing that, but can also play a good defensive game, can chip in offensively when needed.
yeah,
Those are the important guys that you need on a team, and yeah, Carolina's got them.
yeah, yeah. And if if Toronto was to throw Reeves into the lineup, I every time he's out there, Paul Maurice should better be going, "Okay, guys, you have to possess the puck in their zone the entire shift because if it goes into our end, I'm willing to bet everything that Ryan Reeves is just going to bowl through Bobrovsky the second the puck is near the crease. Because like, why
Mhm.
else would he be out there? He's not out there to generate offense. He's not out there for his defense. Like, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
that's like the only reason they'd really put him in. So
One quick thing that I just found here with Florida, because we were talking about top end, stars type of guys, like the elite level guys.
yeah,
Florida has those. We know that. Like, not to say that they don't.
yeah,
When you look at Florida's top, and don't look it up here. This is just off your head. Just throw out a number
sure.
in the rankings. Like how Rantanen's first with 18 points, McDavid is second with 17. Where do you think Florida's top guy lands
Their top
in
guy
terms of points? Like how
points.
many points and what position?
If I had to guess, I would say it's Verhaeghe. He just feels like he's getting touches on everything. Um, Man, maybe Reinhardt. Probably. I I do know that they have a lot of scoring throughout the lineup. Like I know a lot of their top guys are around tied, but like I think it's around like 10 or something. Like it's not near as high as most teams.
So you were kind of right because you did throw out Verhaeghe and Reinhardt. The answer is 8. 8 points is the guy
8.
with the most points on their team, tied at 19th. Sam Reinhart has 8. Verhaeghe, Alexander Barkov, Sam Bennett, Lou Sterainen, Anton Lundell, Matthew Tkachuk, and Brad Marchand.
So I didn't know it
All of
was
those
that many
guys are
guys.
all at 8 points.
I did see that they had like set the other day that they had like several guys at 8. I didn't know that was their top scorers though. I thought
Yeah,
they just had a bunch of guys at 8. That's crazy that they're all tied at that. Like,
they're all sitting there and they're again just getting it done throughout the lineup, very similar to the way Carolina gets it done. It's just throughout the lineup, and more than anything, you don't even need to have a guys with a bunch of points, because at the end of the day, your game plan is more defensive. It's winning games 3-1, 2-0, having those lower scoring games. So you don't need the guys with a bunch of points, because again, the players don't care about that shit as long as they're winning.
Yeah.
If Aho's sitting there and he's only got, well, by then, if he's got 10 points through 2 rounds, but he's like, hey, we're in the Eastern Finals, they don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Washington continued to impress you with Dylan Strome too.
Oh my God. Strome has been so good. He's like, the more and more these playoffs go, the more people talk about Logan Thompson, about Alex Ovechkin, and I'm just sitting here like, Strome just looks like their best player the majority of the games to me. Like, he just looks like he creates so many chances, and fuck, he just looks great out there. Like, did they get him in free agency?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. That's crazy. And he's a 3rd overall pick. Like, people could have seen this coming too.
Yeah, Chicago didn't want him for whatever reason.
How old? How old is he?
Dylan Strome, he is 28.
I was going to say, surely he's like relatively far out on his draft year, because no way people are giving up on him too early. Yeah, 3rd overall, 2015. Still though, like, so Chicago just let him walk?
Yeah.
I guess they wanted Bedard. Just trade him. I thought he was worse, man. Holy shit. I'm looking at his career stats. So, like, drafted in 2015. So he takes a bit longer than you'd like to get into the NHL, but 17-18 on a not very good Coyotes team, 9 points in 29 games, or in 9 points in 21 games. And then the next season, doesn't do a ton with the Coyotes before getting traded. 51 in 58 for the Blackhawks, 38 and 58. 17 and 40. So he's like always around, often over a half point per game. 48 in 69 games. That's like on pace for about a 60-point season over a full season. And that's the year they let him walk. And then he goes to Washington, 65, 67, and 82 he played full seasons, all 3 seasons. Like, how do they not at least trade him to a team? That's crazy.
Yeah.
I kind of thought he was like putting up like 20 and 30-point seasons. Like, it looked like he was cooked, and then all of a sudden he came back. But
I know he was doing well with Chicago, and they just decided not for us. And yeah, weird mismanagement by Chicago in that one.
Yeah, he's coming up on 400 career points, and he's only played 518 career games. Like, that's a wild guy to go to free agency.
But with the series, is there any other areas you wanted to touch on before we move on to the next one?
Not really. Yeah, it's Washington's they've got to play their game. They can't really play Carolina's. They kind of they can't try and beat Carolina at their own thing. They got to break through their defense and get guys to the net. You got to get some of those greasy goals against a team like this, and maybe a little more aggressive in your defensive zone as well. Don't give their defense the time to kind of set up and get a better look on a shot. Like, pressure them into making another pass, and then keep going after that guy, and don't let them set up as much as they have been.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a good Hurricanes team. Like, it's hard to poke holes in what you're supposed to do, really.
Yeah. No, I would agree with you on that. Moving from what people are now saying the most boring team to the most interesting or exciting team in the playoffs right now, it feels like the Edmonton Oilers, who now have a commanding 3-1 series lead over the Vegas Golden Knights. Very easily could have been a sweep. Game 3 was looking like a lock to go to overtime after Edmonton ties it up late, and disaster strikes. A little bit of a breakdown in the defensive zone. Couple guys go sliding to block a shot. Riley Smith walks around them. pull Stuart Skinner a bit out of the net, but Stuart Skinner did block off the angle to the net, and a bank off Draisaitl's stick into the net with 0.3 seconds left gave Vegas
Everything that
their first
Draisaitl
win in this
touches hits the
series,
back
and
of the net. Like, honestly, throwing it onto his stick was
just
probably the
a
smartest
goal
thing Riley
scorer.
could have done. You knew it would work.
But yeah, now after last night, which we'll kind of dive into, the biggest reason why Edmonton won last night to go up 3-1. I mean, Vegas, they were able to get a win in Edmonton. It wasn't a pretty one. I did think it was a good bounce back by them, despite, going down 2-0 pretty early on in the game. Both goals scored by Corey Perry, because, of course, to come back in and get the lead 3-2, I thought was really gutsy by Vegas. Like, Edmonton plays so well with a lead. You really need to get that early lead on Edmonton to really have a chance, it feels like. And even then,
I don't know. I feel like they're
find a
the
way to
best
make
team in the
comeback.
league at playing from behind.
But I'm more so saying that they're not the best at playing from behind. They have a lot of comebacks, but they dominate the game much more when they have the lead. Is basically what I'm saying. They look like a better team because when they get a lead, more often than not, they usually can just keep their kind of run and gun style. They don't tend to sit back too much. Like, they just like to keep the foot right on the gas. And at the end of the day, Vegas found a way to pull a game out. Was it pretty? No, but not everyone has to be pretty in the playoffs. As long as you find a way to get it done.
They don't ask how, they ask how many. And it's rough when that's your one win in the series so far after 4, though. Like this, like you're saying, this could have been a sweep. Like, Vegas, they've never been swept in their franchise history, have they? I would assume not.
No, they haven't.
And man, I don't know if it speaks more to Vegas or Edmonton, but like, this has been a lopsided series. Like, Edmonton's been giving them the business. They're scoring a lot of goals. Their defense is all right. With the way their defense and their goaltending has been, it really feels like Vegas should be putting up more on them. Something about this Vegas team just doesn't feel like it has the same aura of past Vegas teams.
Well, and they're not.
I can't even
deep,
put my finger on it.
You look at how deep the team was in previous years compared to now. It's quite different. I think it definitely does hurt. Your top playoff performer, your Conn Smythe winner, Marchessault. You let him walk out the door. I really like Jack Eichel as a player. I think he's awesome, but and this is no disrespect to him, but he doesn't feel like, where Mikko Rantanen just takes over a game and dominates, like McDavid does, like we've seen Nylander do it. We haven't really gotten that from Jack Eichel in the series. And the thing is, with Vegas, that's who it has to be. Mark Stone's not that type of guy. Sure, he had those 2 early goals in the one game, but Mark Stone's not a guy to do that. William Karlsson, not that guy. Thomas Hertl, love him, but not that guy. Like, it's got to be a Jack Eichel that goes out there and takes over a game, and Vegas has yet to get that out of him in this series. And Edmonton just got the star power up front more. They're deeper. I think.
There's not a
Vegas
team in the league that plays
the
this team and has the edge in superstars. Like,
Vegas does have the edge defensively, but at the end of the day, if Edmonton's just dominating in the forward category, there's only so much those defensemen can do. And Adin Hill, I thought, has been pretty shaky. It's not like he's been awful. It's not like he's the reason the team's losing. But
he is not.
You're hoping for more out of him. You're hoping he can maybe steal you a game or hold Edmonton down to a 2-goal game or something, like stand on his head. Haven't really gotten that. It's just Edmonton's the better team. That's what it comes down to.
They're just the better team. They really are
the better team.
And I don't really disagree, but I also hesitate to fully agree with you on on the assessment on Eichel because he really hasn't been that game breaker, but man, you watch him and he passes that eye test. He looks like a game breaker. Like he's that
He
guy who he's at a point per game right now. He's got 1 goal and 9 assists, so he's got 10 points in 10 games. And that's good, but obviously you need him to transcend that in the playoffs. And he he looks like he's one or two things different away from being like a top 5 to 10 player in the league. Like he's so close to just being that guy. I don't know what it is. If he needs to have more of a shooter's mentality, if he just maybe needs some slightly better line mates, it's just some guy was to more consistently finish on some passes. Like I don't even know what it is, but like watching him, he looks fucking dangerous out there. It's just not. It's
and
not
that's what
going in the
I'm
net
saying,
at
though.
the pace of one a game.
I'm not saying he's playing bad or anything, but I'm saying at the end of the day, again, if he's a guy that people are going to say is in that top 10 player conversation, he's got to find a way to get it done. And I don't
Exactly.
even think it
Yeah.
comes down to line mates because we've seen Draisaitl dominate in the playoffs with Corey Perry and Dylan Holloway on his wings. And this was Dylan Holloway before he turned into a stud with St. Louis. Like Jack Eichel was playing with Brett Howden, who, he was a 20 goal scorer this year, and Mark Stone, one of, if not the best kind of two-way guy in terms of forwards. So he's got the talent, and he 100% passes the eye test. But at the end of the day, it's the results, it's the numbers that
Yeah.
come into question. And it's the same way we talk, or maybe not us, but people are talking about Austin Matthews on Toronto. Yeah, he's playing a good two-way game and good in the defensive zone, but only 2 goals so far in the playoffs. A guy that people are saying is a top 5 player in the league. He's only at 10 points in 10 games. You need more. You need more point production from your star player, the guy that's supposed to carry your team. So it's not to say Eichel's playing bad, but at the end of the day, you got to find a way to put points up on the board. You got to find ways to help your team score because against Edmonton, you're not going to win those 2-1 games, those close nitty ones. Like you're going to have to put up quite a few goals on them to win. Look at LA. That's the only way they could win was by putting up, 6.
Yeah. So I almost wonder if we're just being too harsh on some of these guys. If we're getting some of these just transcendent playoff performances and they're skewing our view, Like Rantanen's doing some stuff that we've never seen in the playoffs. It's just unfair to compare people to McDavid and by proxy Draisaitl because he's that good and plays with McDavid. But we always talk about how scoring tends to go down in the playoffs, and we're talking about two guys who play pretty decently defensively, especially in Matthews' case, and they're both at a point per game in the second round. Like,
I get what you're saying, but you also look at, people say that, Eichel is better than William Nylander. Nylander's taken over multiple games and been basically the sole reason Toronto's won them. Kyle Connor has done that, and people, I don't think there's much argument that Eichel is higher than Kyle Connor on most people's list. Dylan Strome, even, we talk about how Dylan Strome doesn't even hardly get talked about, and yet he's able to kind of take over a game more and help his team win. It's not saying Eichel's bad. It's at the end of the day, if you want to win in the playoffs, you need your number one star player to take over a game.
Yeah.
It's not that he's bad. It's just facts. If you want to win, that's what you need.
Yeah.
If Dallas probably doesn't come out of the first round, if Mikko Rantanen doesn't single-handedly take over 2 games in a row, or 2 out of 3 or whatever, like that's.
Oh yeah, Dallas is done without him. Yeah,
that's just the bottom line of what it comes down to. And again, it's tough because Edmonton's just so good and so deep, but that's the position Vegas has put themselves in by everything they've done over the last 2 years. Is you don't have that luxury of the depth anymore. You don't have the luxury of being able to hold on to guys like Marchessault, and you got to lose them. You now need those guys that you've given the keys to the kingdom to in Vegas to lead this team and lead the charge. And you're down 3-1, so it's got to happen in the next game, or you're
Do you
cooked.
think it goes Do you think this series goes to 6? Do you
No,
think Vegas takes Game 5?
no,
Where is it
I really don't.
even? Is it
It'll
in
be in
Vegas?
Vegas.
Which
Game 5 will be in
which
Vegas.
both went to Edmonton anyway, but they might win Game 5. If they do, they're not winning Game 6. At most, this series ends in 6, I think. I wouldn't even bet money on it. It
It's not
might.
going 7. It's not
Yeah,
going 7. I firmly believe it is done in 5. I think the way Edmonton's playing right now, like Edmonton's just dominating them. They're inside
they
Aiden
smell
Hill's
blood in the
head.
water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing, I tweeted out the other day, I mentioned it because of the backlash Stuart Skinner was getting after Game 3. I said I firmly, wholeheartedly believe Edmonton could do a full 5-man line change and give Vegas a 5-on-0 from center ice in on Stuart Skinner. If Vegas scored, everyone would just blame Stuart Skinner. They wouldn't poke fingers at anyone else for a bad line change. It's just human nature at this point to bash Stuart Skinner. I don't think he was the reason they lost Game 3. Could he have been better? Yeah. Was it his fault for the final goal? Absolutely not. Was he out of the net? Sure. But he forced Riley Smith wide enough he didn't have an angle. He had to just fire the puck through the crease, and it was not a threat until it had an unfortunate bounce off Draisaitl's stick. But going into Game 4, I'm gonna hit you some facts here, some stats of Stuart Skinner.
All right.
Stuart Skinner, before last night, all time in Games 4, he's 4-0, a 1.62 goals against, a 9.44 save percentage, and 1 shutout. After last night's game now, he's now 5-0, a 1.32 goals against, a 9.53 save percentage, and 2 shutouts, as he did shut out Vegas last night in what I thought was a phenomenal game from Stuart Skinner. So,
yep.
Has he found his rhythm? Has he found his mojo? Is it just because it was a Game 4? Remains to be seen, but that's got to feel good if you're Edmonton. That's got to feel really good that your starting goalie bounced back and was able to put on a performance.
Starting goalie?
I mean, I think so now. I think the plan
most people would say he's the starter. It's just funny because Pickard won their last, 6 games before that or whatever. But no, yeah, he looked great in there, and you needed that. You needed that from him, because Pickard got injured, right?
Yeah,
I'm not sure how serious it was, but Pickard goes down. I mean, if Skinner goes out there and lays a bad game, what do? You have to run him, right? Do they have a third goalie they can turn to? They don't really have anybody else that they can ask, unless you're just going into the conference finals with a third string goalie that most of the fans probably have never even heard of. You need one of those two guys to be even serviceable, not even good, not even league average, serviceable. So the fact that you get a shutout against a team like Vegas, with Skinner back in, that's massive for the Oilers.
That's huge. Yeah, to alleviate some of that concern. Obviously, the big test is now Game 5. Can he stay on that, or does he come back out and everything's going back in? I also do give Edmonton credit because I was on the camp that they fully changed the way that they were playing in front of Skinner when they went to Pickard, and they've kept that same system now. They're not leaving 2 guys all alone on Skinner in front because everybody else is down below the goal line. Couple, some bad line changes, but again, that happens. That's part of the game. Mistakes happen. But I think overall, in a team sense and the way they've been playing, I thought they've played much better in front of Stuart Skinner, and I think that definitely has helped him. Because again, why wouldn't it? It's any goalie would tell you, if the team plays good defense in front of you, it makes your job a whole lot easier. And now Edmonton's up 3-1.
If they can keep getting decent goaltending, if they can keep getting good goaltending, they are low key one of the most dangerous teams in this playoffs. They obviously have the top talent. They're getting depth scoring, which is horrifying when your top 2 guys are What are they going to be putting up? At minimum, 1.5 per game, probably in these playoffs. Like, they're so nuts. And if they're getting depth scoring, Corey Perry's just keeps burying it. If they get that goaltending, and then they add a guy like Matthias Ekholm, they're going to add a number one defenseman, like, to their roster halfway through a playoff run. Like, Ekholm's probably not winning a Norris level, but like, not a lot of teams where he's any less than the second best defenseman. Very few teams where he's
And more
below
than
that.
anything, he brings the best out of Bouchard.
Yeah,
Bouchard
like,
is an overall better player when he's playing with Ekholm.
like, man, if that goaltending, if their depth scoring can keep up and their goaltending can stay just fine, like, just stay above the level that is bad, they gotta be a top 3 team.
Yeah. Anything left on this series before we dive into the final series here in the second round?
I feel like I had one thing. Let me check. Yes, I did. This was from when was the Oilers' last game? Was that 2 days ago? Last
Or
night?
if you're talking about the one Vegas one, yeah, it would be 2 days ago. Yeah.
Okay, so this includes all of their games in the recent run. So the Oilers have now been gone 12 consecutive games, consecutive playoff games where they have received fewer 9 of those 12 games or the same number 3 of those games of power play opportunities as the opposing team. So in 12 games in a row and in 9 of them, they have gotten less power plays or the same. They haven't gotten more. 13 playoff games ago is the last time they got more power plays than the other team, which is crazy when you have a guy like McDavid who realistically could be drawing 6 or 7 penalties a night. They just often go uncalled because refs don't want to call that many with one guy. But for a team where they're so often talked about living and dying on the power play because they've got these huge guns up front and their penalty kill has just kind of always for the last several years been pretty solid. That was just a really impressive stat that I saw the other day.
Yeah, that is. I didn't even hear that one. It's something to think about. That shows that they're getting it done 5-on-5, and that was kind of always the biggest thing of that they needed was to just get that depth scoring, that 5-on-5 scoring in. No better time to be getting it and for it to heat up than the playoffs, right?
Yep.
Moving on to the last series over in the West, the Winnipeg Jets and the Dallas Stars. Dallas Stars are up 2-1 in the series, potentially 3-1 after tonight, or maybe it is tied 2-2. Miro Heiskanen sounds like he is expected to return to the lineup for the Dallas Stars here in Game 4, and that is a big addition for them. Already got Jason Robertson back, again, slowly ramping him up to full game speed, and now you're getting Heiskanen back. You're getting your top defenseman. Is huge for them. Like, it can't, obviously, well, of course they're getting their top defenseman. It's the fact of how I don't want to say but how shallow their blue line is overall. Like, it's not like a Vegas level deep or anything, or it's kind of even a Toronto at this point, honestly. Is just so incredible to get him back in there, and now you can take some of that weight off of guys like Harley and Lundell, who have been playing great, but have been having to play a lot so far in the playoffs here.
Yeah.
Like a absurd amount.
It's so goofy how freaking good this team looked. And then they get back a guy who looks like he might win a Selke at some point in Jason Robertson. He's also had a 100-point season. And Miro Heiskanen, like a guy who's probably going to win at least one Norris Trophy some point in his career here. Like, man, that's 2 huge additions to a team that if they were both out for the full playoffs, I would have still had them in my top 3 to win the cup. Like, they're
Yeah.
that good. What other team can lose guys that caliber and still say that? I
And when
I
we
don't know if there's
say,
another team that can.
when we say, with these injuries, we have him as a top 3. Oh, you had him going out round 1. Yeah, but the team we had beating them round 1, we both had going to the cup final in Colorado. I had
Yeah,
Colorado winning the cup. And I
yeah.
said,
And I
whoever
said
comes out
Tampa
of
would
this
win in
series, I think
7, I
goes all
think.
the way.
Yeah.
Like, I had Colorado going and winning the cup, but I also said if Dallas beats them round 1, Dallas is probably going on to the cup final. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I pretty much had the winner of the Battle of Florida and the winner of Colorado, Dallas. Just, whoever you pick, whatever uh 2 teams you have coming out of those, fair. But those 2 very realistically go to the cup final.
mhm.
Like 4 incredible teams, and it's so good. This lineup is so funny every time I look at it. I've said it plenty of times, but like Jason Robertson, you see him on that third line, and you go, yeah, because he just came back from injury. No, that's his line. That's where he plays. He was there in the regular season. They have a third line of Jamie Benn, Wyatt Johnston, and Jason Robertson. What the fuck, dude?
Yeah.
That's filthy. That I don't even know if I could do that in franchise mode. Like, good God. That's
It
such a
is.
insane forward core. And
It's the depth is up front. One thing I'm very curious for, because we haven't seen it yet, but overall in terms of impact, who's been the best player in the playoffs so far? If you want to say McDavid, I don't blame you. I'm saying Rantanen.
uh, uh, I
With
don't
how
think without McDavid, I doubt they get past the Kings. But
Mhm.
like, I feel like I don't have that proof. As much as I know it's basically true,
Yeah.
uh, without Rantanen, I mean, they were down in the game 7 and going into the third, and then he scored all the goals and had all the points. Like he
Yeah.
did everything. Like I can't see them winning that series without him, especially because in that universe, there's a good chance that Rantanen's on on the Avalanche, and it
Yeah.
probably ends in like 5.
And so, as good as Rantanen's been already, we haven't even seen a game yet where he's been on the ice with fellow countryman Miro Heiskanen. We haven't got one game yet where those two Finns have been out there together.
Yeah.
And I mean, potentially could go bad. I doubt it does. I'm very curious to see the connection that those two can put together, and how much that could even boost Ranton to the next level. No disrespect to a guy like Esa Lindell, but if you're Rantanen out there, and that's a big upgrade, having Heiskanen back there feeding you pucks and finding you open and whatnot. Like, again, we have no proof that it's going to work, but on the star power alone of it,
Yeah.
got to
Adding a
imagine
good
it's
player.
going to be pretty
Yeah.
special. Yeah.
In the long term for this team, I almost wonder if this Heiskanen injury was a little bit of a blessing in disguise. Um, Not just because he's kind of coming in, who knows what percentage he's at, but he's at least rested. But beyond that, and not even just these playoffs, I'm talking overall. Uh, I don't know. They knew they really liked Thomas Harley. I don't think even the Stars knew what they had with this guy until he had to be the number 1 defenseman.
Hmm.
Holy shit. Like
Yeah.
he's one of the top, like, stock in Thomas Harley, like, rising guy. Like, he's had the highest rising stock in the league probably since the Four Nations. Like, people really recognized him there, and he's only gotten better, and he's continued it into the playoffs. Like,
Yeah.
he's been so good, and man, he's gonna get paid in the summer.
Yeah, yeah, he's been phenomenal, and this is really, we already kind of saw it last year with how much he had grown as a player and how dominant he's become. But this year, especially getting that opportunity to be the number 1 guy, like being the top relied on defense for a team, he took that ball and has run with it, and now being able to have that where you can have Harley on one line and Heiskanen on the other is incredible for Dallas because again, it's two defensemen who are already incredibly good in their own right, but they make whoever they're playing with better. They bring the best out of whoever's alongside them, and so having that um, it is terrific. It really is phenomenal for them. The Winnipeg Jets, they are down 2-1, but you're not out of it. You win tonight. It's tied up 2-2. You're going back home. Best of three. You're in the same boat with St. Louis, and at the end of the day, it was a little bit scary, but you found a way to get it done, and that's what matters at the end of it. Connor Hellebuck had a rough round one. We were not the kindest to him, along with a lot of other people. Decent game one, not the greatest game three, but in game two, he shut out this Dallas Stars team. Only 21 shots against, only had to make 21 saves. But it's pretty wicked.
Yeah, like, man, they got to get that Connor Hellebuck. Like,
They need Connor Hellebuck if they want to win this series.
Yeah, they're not a team like the Oilers where if we get fine goaltend, we talked about Dallas so much we didn't even mention they got Jake Ottinger in net. Jesus.
Yeah.
But the Jets, they're a great team, but they don't quite have that level of talent where they can just skate by on okay goaltending. They're going to need Connor Hellebuck to be good. They're going to need him to be great. And the flashes are there. And I mean, we watched it all this season. We saw it all last season too. He's just got to get out of his own head, and he's just got to go out there, play his game, and stop the puck. And we saw it in game 2 there with that shutout. Like, he was unbeatable, man. Like, against like the hottest player in the league, that hotter than I've seen a player at any point that I can remember in recent memory in Rantanen, coming off back-to-back hat tricks, like several games in a row with 3 or 4 points, like, and to shut out the entire team. That's huge.
That's what you need. That it really is what you need with Winnipeg. And obviously, tonight's game now is going to be the one where both teams finally have all their guys back. Winnipeg's Scheifele's in, Morrissey's back, and then with Dallas, they're going to have, we already know Robertson's back, but they're going to have Heiskanen. Both teams are going to be maybe not at their healthiest, but at their best in terms of their players. All their main guys are going to be in, so it's going to be a battle tonight. It feels like a must win for Winnipeg. Obviously, they're the President's Trophy team. If they go down 3-1, there's the possibility they can come back. But against this Dallas team, especially fully healthy now,
it's the fact that they're 3-1.
It's not looking good for you.
I'll say it. If they lose this game, they're losing the series. I'm counting them out if they lose this one. Not because I don't believe in them as a team, but I'm not giving any team a chance in the league. If you go down 3-1 against this Dallas Stars team, this iteration of them, like, it can literally happen. We know it can, but I would not believe it until I saw it. This Stars team's too good.
That's totally fair. Yeah, I think that's kind of the consensus. Like, you lose tonight, now it's just a matter of, do you lose in 5 or 6, pretty much. Maybe 7, but highly unlikely. It's probably just done in 5 or 6. So it's a must win for Winnipeg. Again, it's not like there's, you need that consistency from Hellebuck still. You want him to go out and do what he did in game 2. But overall with Winnipeg, it's not like there's anything bad with them, right? Like, you've been getting great play out of Neil Pionk so far in the playoffs here. Mark Scheifele is doing his thing. He's looking good.
Kyle Connor is so dangerous out there.
Dominate and lead the charge up front. Morrissey's look great. It really just comes down to Dallas is a better team, a deeper team. Yeah, you're the President's Trophy winner in Winnipeg, but you're the underdog in this still. You're the underdog. Everybody's putting their money on Dallas. It's an uphill battle for you. You got to go out and you got to find a way to get it done in whatever way you need to. If you need Hellebuck to stand on his head and bail you out, if you need to go out there and pot 5 or 6 to get it done, whatever it needs to be, you got to go out and do it. And really, your season kind of is on the line tonight.
It really is, and unfortunately, it is an away game for them, which is where Hellebuck has been especially exposed. Like, he hasn't been very good at home consistently throughout the playoffs, but away it's been much worse.
It has been a struggle, and again, I really do believe that's what it's going to come down to tonight. Is Hellebuck's going to have to, he doesn't have to go out there and get a shutout, but he needs to go out there and not lose the game for his team. He needs to put on a good enough showing that Winnipeg can win.
2 or less goals would be preferential for them.
Yeah.
3 is cutting it. Any more than 4 is brutal. You don't even really want to see 4, but like,
yeah,
if he keeps them to at least 3 or less, then he's done his job. If they only let in 3 and still lose, you can't put on Hellebuck, in my opinion, unless they're like brutal goals. But like, even then, if they're brutal goals and he stops everything else, why didn't you score 4? Right? Why didn't you score 3? Push it to OT. So we'll see. Like, man, this Dallas team is built so well. Like, I want to talk more about the Jets. I'm just, every time I look at their lineup, I'm so blown away how deep they are. And there's a little bit left to desired on the blue line at parts, but like, even their goaltending, Jake Ottinger's so good. Casey DeSmith was probably the best backup in the league this year. He ended the season with I think it was like a 915. I'll have to look it up here, but even their backup was incredible. Like, Sorry. He ended this season with a 915, and then he's gotten to 1 game in the playoffs with a 929. Like,
it's pretty good. Pretty damn good
for a backup to your number 1 starter. Goddamn.
Yeah, for Winnipeg, nice. You're going to need your top guys to show up. Obviously, that being like the Mark Scheifele, the Kyle Connor, the Nick Ehlers. But you're going to need guys like Nita Ryder, Nemestikov, Perfetti, who we've seen can show up in big moments, Gabe Vilardi. You're going to need those guys to help get you some of that depth scoring, because if you're going to beat this Dallas team, that's what you need. You need all 4 lines buzzing, all 3 defensive pairs buzzing, because this Dallas Stars team is so deep. You're going to need your depth to go toe-to-toe with them and outproduce them. And it's very possible. Like, Winnipeg is not out of this. You win this one, it's tied up 2-2. You're going back home. You're right in it, but it has to be a Game 4 win tonight.
Yeah.
But I do believe that kind of wraps up our playoff talk here. We're kind of just at
actually we do have one other thing that we should probably mention from this series that I forgot to write down here in the Discord, but we haven't even talked about who was it? Was it? Fuck, I'm not even gonna try. It was one of the guys on the Stars. Who was it who slashed the ref?
Oh, Mason Marchment.
I want to say Colin Blackwell, but I knew that wasn't right. There's not a ton to say on it. I just want to know what are your thoughts? Like, for those of you who didn't see, I believe the Stars player Mason Marchment, I think he got tripped, and it didn't get called. Some infraction that was like not brutal, but something didn't get called on him, and he skates by the ref, and he gives him a little chop on the
it's a little tap on the shins.
It's like he's not trying to hurt the ref. He's not trying to hurt the ref. And he knows that the ref is wearing shin pads. And it's more of a like, hey, focus up, kind of watch that next time, kind of a that one's on you a little bit. But the league said they're not going to do anything about it.
So first of all, it's so weird seeing people that sit all playoffs long and just bash the refs. Like, oh, fuck the refs. Refs suck. All of them are just the worst human beings ever. But then something happens to ref and they're like, oh, protect the refs. Like, why is the league not doing anything? Pick a side. You either love the ref or you hate the ref. The one thing about
Well, I don't think that's fair. Like I'm not happy with the reffing a lot of the time either, but at the same time, I don't think we should be allowing them to get
no, but
slashed.
it's the people that saying like, oh, immediate suspension, all this. At the end of the day, it's very clearly outlined. It's at the ref's discretion. If the ref wants to call a penalty for it and have the league take action, it's up to them. And the ref didn't feel like it was nasty enough or anything to where they felt the need that, yeah, this deserves punishment. Is just really what it comes down to at the end of the day. Whatever side, I don't necessarily know how I feel about it, but at the end of the day, it is the ref's decision. And if the ref is like, you know what, it's not that bad, didn't hurt me, I didn't think too much of it, then fair enough.
I get that. I definitely see it.
Like, it's not like a Dennis Weidman, like just bulldozing a ref from behind and
yeah,
and whatnot.
He was not trying to hurt. Like I get why people would think it, but he was not trying to hurt this ref. He knows that he's got the shin pads. There's a reason everyone's saying he tapped him on the shins because it wasn't a chop. He's not trying to take him down.
Mm-hmm.
I don't hate that he got nothing. I wouldn't have hated if he got a 1-game suspension. I do think
I would have been okay with it.
I think that would have been fine. Any more than that, if it's more than 1 game, it has to be something where it's not a judgment call. Now it's something where it's like automatically touching the ref is an instant 10 games or something like that. Like it would have to be a prior written down rule, and it's like it's one of those just like there's no judgment. The puck went over the glass 2 minutes for a delay game kind of thing. Yeah. But if you're just kind of gauging it, yeah, 1 game just to be like, we know it wasn't that bad, but we can't allow guys to see that and go, oh, I'm allowed to do that, and maybe the next guy hits a little harder, and you don't want it to be a slippery slope,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would have been fine with 1 game. I'm fine with none because at the end of the day, like I said, it's up to the ref, and the ref didn't feel like it was nasty or an intent to hurt him or anything. So if that's where the ref feels and it happened on him, fair enough.
Yeah. Yeah, and that is an important.
He's the one that was in the line of fire.
Fine. The ref said nothing about. The ref didn't even give him a penalty during the game, right? Like that. Like nothing. Like literally nothing came of this one. Like I don't think there was a fine, a suspension, not even a penalty in game. Like because of that and the fact that this ref didn't seem to care, I think it's fine. But I also wouldn't have minded 1 game.
Yeah,
just to kind of set a bit of precedent, just to a little bit of keeping of the peace. But
and we've seen cases where guys are in a fight and players are so amped up they throw a punch and they hit the ref and
oh yeah,
I'm
pretty sure already in these playoffs we saw somebody recently like try and slash another player and they accidentally slashed the ref. Like I think that happened in like Game 3 of the Toronto Panthers.
I'm not 100% sure on when it was, to be honest.
But
I don't know.
Like exactly. we do see all the time guys will accidentally hit the refs and yeah, it was interesting how nothing came of this, but like this is a big thing around the league. Like a lot of people are talking about this.
Yeah, people just want stuff to complain about. It's just the way it goes nowadays.
I mean, it is a big thing. Like he did
it's a little
hit the ref. It's a tap, but like,
if guys aren't getting suspended for punching the linesman, I'm not losing sleep over a guy giving a love tap to a ref and not getting.
Oh yeah, but those are usually in a fight and they miss and hit the ref versus like there was clearly nothing for him to be doing other than hitting the ref on the shins. But it wasn't
like
bad.
I said, I'm fine either way, but if the ref feels like it wasn't bad and then
I think how that ref feels about it is important. And the fact that he didn't call anything, that speaks volumes. And you know what? I do wonder, like, I think something happened and he didn't like it, and that's why he did that. I wonder if the ref was going, oh fuck, maybe I deserve that a little bit. I wonder if the ref was going, okay, I kind of missed one on you, fair.
Yeah, because people think refs are like these fucking robots or these weird. Like they're regular dudes. After the game, they go sit back in the ref room and they crack open a beer and talk about the game. Like they're just regular dudes. They're human. Yeah, he's probably like, oh fuck, you know what? Fair. I probably deserve that. I did kind of miss a blatant call.
Yeah.
Or maybe he didn't think of it at the time and they watched the footage afterwards and he's like, fuck, how did I miss that? Well, yeah, fuck. If I was the player, I'd be pretty pissed too. Like, they're humans, they're regular dudes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but
But that's all I've
nope,
got.
that will wrap up everything for this episode. Once again, hope all of you enjoyed the playoff talk as we are getting very close to the third round of the playoffs here, and the action is can only continue to ramp up through these series. If you want to talk about the playoffs, you want to let us know your thoughts, you can do so through any of our socials. They're down in the links for all of them across all episodes, across all platforms. Braden, as always, final thoughts.
Oh man, keep watching these playoffs, man. Like there's been some stuff surrounding them, the reffing and whatnot, but uh even with that going on, they are still very fun to watch, and we're coming down to it. We've already got two series where the next game is an elimination game, and yeah, it's only going to get more intense from here.
Yeah, the action just continues to ramp up. But that will do it for this one. Once again, hope you all enjoyed. And as always, we will see all of you out on the ice later this week.